The job at midnight. This morning, the picket lines are up outside Ford, Michigan assembly plant. A GM plant in Missouri and Stellantis plant in Ohio are also on strike at this hour. Stellantis owns Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep, and this is the first time that all big three automakers have been hit with a strike at the same time. Chris Van Cleve is in Detroit. Chris, good morning. This is a very big deal.
Good morning, Gail, and it could have major ripples throughout the economy. Now, the stalled negotiations did resume for a time last night after President Biden spoke both with union leaders and company executives. But Ford, in a statement, said the union's asks were still far too great and time ran out.
At midnight, United Auto Workers walked off the job at 3 plants belonging to the nation's big 3 automakers.
We mean business, you know. It's time to make a higher wage.
Facilities in Missouri, Ohio, and Michigan, the first targets of the UAW strike, beginning 1 minute after their labor contract expired with Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis.
It's about getting their share and our share of economic justice. Union
President Shawn Fain joined workers on the picket line outside the Ford, Michigan assembly plant in Wayne.
The cost of labor goes in a vehicle is 5% of the vehicle. They could double our wages, and they could not raise the price of vehicles. They would still make billions of dollars.
The UAW has been seeking up to a 40% pay hike, while the big 3 are offering about half that. Other asks include a 4-day work week and a return of pensions for hourly employees, non-starters for the companies. The negotiations had stalled for days and are now on hold until at least Saturday. Ford CEO Jim Farley.
What their initial offer is to pay our hourly workers about $300,000 each and to work 4 days. That would basically put our company out of business.
The union is trying a new strategy: strike all 3 automakers, but at select plants, and expand the strike if necessary. Economist Patrick Anderson.
And it's a dangerous thing to say you're going to strike just some plants but not others.
Dude, they all look like such fucking ghouls, dude. Look at him. Dude, I'm here for it so much. My side's audience used to be very anti-union, largely due to the influence of Elon Tesla, but over time, the U.S. union positive going up. And with EV people turning away from Elon, I'm seeing much more positive response to the unions now than before. Good progress. Yeah. Dude, you can't be on fucking television looking like a goddamn ghoul with this fucking fit, dude. You literally are missing the monocle and the top hat and the big-ass comical cigar, you know what I mean? With the transatlantic accent, like, hey, the unions must stop. What are they doing? What is going on? Do you want to go outside again or something? What's happening? Are you bored? What's happening with you today? Why aren't you laying down like you normally do at this point in the day because you're tired, because you ran all morning? That's right, you see? The unions, they're asking too much. They're asking too much of us. We have no money. We have no money. How else could we justify a 60% increase in our salaries if we were to give the unions their demands? I have a 3rd yacht to purchase for my other 2 yachts. My other 2 yachts will be very lonely without my 3rd yacht. Do you want that to happen? I'm a job creator, you see? I'm a job creator.
Because that's not how the industry can operate. And you will see more than just those plants shut down if that takes place.
Striking workers will get just $500 a week strike pay. But if production slows or stops, suppliers like Global Technology, which makes wheels for several cars,
immediately they go to the other aspects of the supply line and go, oh, the workers there, they're going to get fucked over, guys. Don't pin workers against one another, you fucking gremlins. You fucking ghouls. You fucking goblins. If you want to talk about this, okay, if you want to talk about how hard other workers on the supply line, on the supply chain are going to get fucked over, okay, you have to mention who's responsible for the economic hurt, because it's not the union, it's not the rank and file, it's not the fucking laborers, it's the bosses. Okay? It's the motherfucking bosses. And I have such an incredible amount of footage to show you from the bosses who are, for the first time ever, being questioned, not by like some market guy at CNBC or Bloomberg, okay? or Fox Business, but instead by like CNN and CBS Morning News, and they have no way of dealing with it. I watched so many CEOs just confront like even a little bit of pushback and crumble like a biscuit, okay, that was dried out by being left out in the fucking sun. They are so bad at handling even a little bit, like a minor question, like how do you justify your salary? Stock performance. They're so bad.
Car makers could see a huge portion of its business grind to a halt. A strike that lasts more than a few weeks could force CEO Dale Hadel to lay off some of his 2,000 U.S. employees.
That's so funny because it's like, dog, you just showed another CEO also behaving in a ghoulish manner, okay? Like, what do you mean force? Like, it's so funny. It's like, yeah, you know why? Because they're not fucking unionized. Because if they were unionized, they could have adequate protections against that sort of thing. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
There's a lot of stuff in here that's not going to go anywhere.
Correct.
What? Like, go to the fucking unions. Go to the workers, jackass. What the fuck are you doing? Hello, at CNN or at CBS Morning News, we decided to go and talk to another CEO about what these other CEOs are doing. Unless the CEO turns around and says, yeah, Stellantis, GM, and Ford CEOs need to fucking get their shit in order immediately, I don't want to hear from you. I think Kaya might need to go outside. I think I'm going to do that right now.
That's
Hold
bad
on.
for your business.
It's bad for my business. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for my workers because, again, they're touching this product every day. Their livelihood is reliant upon these products moving. It's a tough financial burden for us, but if we have to furlough employees, it's a trickle-down effect.
Now, the union is strategically striking plants that make popular trucks and SUVs like the Ford Bronco and the Jeep Wrangler. Their plan is if talks continue to be stalled or drag out, they'll hit other plants with very little notice. Gail?
All right, Chris, thank you very much.
I'll be very brief. I want to talk very briefly about the auto strike. I'd like to say a few words about the contract negotiations between the United Auto Workers and the Big Three auto companies. I've been in touch with both parties since this began over the last few weeks and over the past decade. Auto companies have seen record profits, including the last few years, because of the extraordinary skill and sacrifices of the UAW workers. But those record profits have not been shared fairly, in my view, with those workers. Just as the Treasury Department has released a report pointing out that the most comprehensive report ever dealing with how unions are good for both union workers and non-union workers and the overall economy. Unions raise workers' wages, they said, incomes, increase home ownership, increase retirement savings, increase access to critical benefits like sick leave and child care, and reduce inequality, all of which strengthen our economy for all workers. That's because unions raise standards across the workplaces and entire industries, pushing up wages and strengthening benefits for everyone. That's why strong unions are critical to a growing economy and growing it from the middle out, the bottom up, not the top down. That's especially true as we transition to a clean energy future, which we're in the process of doing. I believe that transition should be fair and a win-win, for auto workers and auto companies. But I also believe the contract agreement must lead to a vibrant made-in-America future that promotes good, strong, middle-class jobs that workers can raise a family on. Where the UAW remains at the heart of auto.
Yeah, she did need to pee and poop. That's why she was trying to go outside. I'm going to rewind this. Sorry, I need to see it from the top. Where was this energy when the rail workers were prepping to strike? Okay, listen. Take the dub. Take the fucking dub. Take the dub. Okay? You gotta take the dub where you can.
United Auto Workers and the Big Three auto companies. I've been in touch with both parties since this began.
Have the UAW endorsed Biden? No, they have not. This might be a reason for that, as a matter of fact. It seems like he wants that endorsement. Oh my God. I just sent Felix a text-to-speech text of my... I sent Felix a text-to-speech that is like an entire fucking paragraph. And it's like literally the entire stream. Yeah, you can't be on fucking television looking like a goddamn ghoul with this fucking fit, dude. You literally are missing the monocle and the top hat and the big-ass comical cigar. You know what I mean? With the transatlantic accent, like, hey, do you have a stop? What are you doing? What's going on? Do you want to go outside again or something? What's happening? Are you bored? What's happening with you today? I'm talking to Kaya. Oh my God. Yeah, Chavo Felix. Because I was sending him information about Kristi Noem having sex with Corey Lewandowski and also Hope Hicks. He was like, what? He texted me back. He's like, what is happening? Is this a text-to-speech or something? And I was like, oh my God, I'm streaming. I fucking did that on accident. All right.
Over the last few weeks and over the past decade, auto companies have seen record profits, including the last few years because of the extraordinary skill and sacrifices of the UAW workers. But those record profits have not been shared fairly, in my view, with those workers. Just as the Treasury Department has released a report pointing out that the most comprehensive report ever dealing with how unions are good for both union workers and non-union workers.
Yep.
And the overall...
I mean, that's classic, though, for the record. What he's saying here is that unions are good for both union and non-union workers is a typical classic NLRB talking point, which is like backed by empirical evidence, obviously. Unions create, on average, a 10% increase in benefits and wages. And that, and not only that, but they also have a likelihood of increasing wages for other non-unionized aspects of the same labor force in the same sector, because people see that there are higher wages in other union shops, and they have no choice but to improve their workplace conditions as well to stay competitive.
Economy. Unions raise workers' wages, they said, incomes, increase home ownership, increase retirement savings, increase access to critical benefits like sick leave and child care, and reduce inequality, all of which strengthen our economy for all workers. That's because unions raise standards across the workplaces and entire industries, pushing up wages and strengthening benefits for everyone.
This is pretty fire.
That's why strong unions are critical to a growing economy and growing it from the middle out, the bottom up, not the top down. That's especially true as we transition to a clean energy future, which we're in the process of doing. I believe that transition should be fair and a win-win, for auto workers and auto companies. But I also believe the contract agreement must lead to a vibrant made-in-America future that promotes good, strong middle-class jobs that workers can raise a family on. Where the UAW remains at the heart of our auto economy, and where the big three companies continue to lead in innovation, excellence, quality, and leadership. Last night, after negotiations broke down, the UAW announced a targeted strike at a few big three auto plants. Let's be clear. No one wants a strike. Say it again. No one wants a strike.
He's right.
But I respect workers' right to use.
Bro, did I write this? What the fuck's going on? Who is my man's speechwriter? I mean, he's right. He's 100% right. These are up 2 minutes and 5 seconds in, every single thing that he has said thus far, I have said on this broadcast. Okay, 100%.
Use their options under the collective bargaining system. And I understand the workers' frustration. Over generations, auto workers sacrificed so much to keep the industry alive and strong, especially through the economic crisis and the pandemic. Workers deserve a fair share of the benefits they helped create for an enterprise. I do appreciate that the parties have been working round the clock. And when I first called them at the very first day of their negotiations, I said, please stay at the table as long as you can to try to work this out. And they've been around the clock, and the companies have made some significant offers. But I believe they should go further to ensure record corporate profits mean record contracts for the UAW. Let me say that again. Record corporate profits, which they have, should be shared by record contracts for the UAW. And just as we're building an economy of the future, we need labor agreements for the future. It's my hope that the parties can return to the...
We have to admit that this labor movement being galvanized is tied to Trump losing and Biden winning. We have to at least commend the corpseman on this. I'll take it one step further. I think part of the labor movement galvanization also comes from the fact that Republicans under Donald Trump went on a populist direction. Okay, I'm going to use a weird W. One, I do agree with you on this. Okay, this is very openly in support of labor unions, and that's truly important. Okay, the bully pulpit is still powerful, but I do think that part of the reason why it's happening in the way that it's happening is because Republicans literally also started kind of associating with unions, not in an incredibly negative way. Do you understand? Donald Trump turning around and like being pro-labor, like white labor, whatever, doesn't matter. Like white working class, like we need to uplift the white working class. We need to do protectionist protectionist policies on American manufacturing. Shit like that unironically played a role in the Democratic Party also adopting this position. Because Democrats always wait for the opposition to give them the go-ahead. I think that actually played a role. I think that right-wing populist messaging around labor legitimately created an environment where the Democrats are also very publicly in support of unions. Before the Trump administration, think about the attitude that the Republican Party openly had, the disdain that they had on labor unions. Like, a lot of you probably don't remember this time, but the reality is that like there was for a very long time, the Republicans were openly antagonistic towards labor unions and did not mince words at all. They just straight up were hypercritical and tried to eviscerate it. Trump, on the other hand, before any sort of real labor action, for the record, before any sort of real labor action was happening, Trump would also regularly talk about how American labor is really important. Now, Republicans have swapped their anger towards the teacher, or not swapped, but like focused all of their anger towards teachers' unions. But because there is, and for the record, the teachers' union conversation has never stopped. It just basically turned into like teachers are grooming our children. And that's why we need to eviscerate teachers' unions, because there needs to be like a real tangible policy position behind why Republicans engage with culture war issues. And their culture war issue always is the abolition of the teachers' unions and the abolition of the Department of Education in general. And it's just a new vector attack for them. Okay? Is that a fucking Teamsters jacket, lol? Yes, it is, fat boy, buoy. Oh, you got a problem with that? Got a Teamsters button here, too. Says Teamsters don't cross picket lines. What's up? Got an issue with that? Take it up with the fucking Teamsters. So I'm going by what the union themselves said. They literally thanked him in a massive statement. The unions ended up happy with what he got them. Why are you more upset than they are? They got 4 days when they asked for 14. They didn't get what they wanted. Yes, but even the unions, the railroad unions, actually thanked Biden for that. What was really interesting on that situation was that they quietly forced the railroad companies to make these concessions after they like physically forced the railroad unions to go back to work. Okay? It's true though, because there were other demands that they had made as well, and Biden should have allowed the railroad unions to continue striking, and he should have supported them publicly. The reason why they didn't do that, the reason why he didn't do that, and instead quietly went and lobbied the railroad companies to meet some of these very incredibly reasonable concessions, was I think because they were still at the time very scared of coming across like the big government intervention on corporations. Ben Shapiro could destroy you. Ben Shapiro could not destroy a paper bag, okay? In my opinion, the rail strike situation was a uniquely tricky exception to Biden's otherwise good labor record. Just look at what the NLRB has been doing. If he was truly a two-faced sleazeball, none of that would be happening. If I'm one of the fucking guys that gave Biden money, that opened up his home as like an anti-labor union-busting lawyer, like in Pennsylvania, where Brandon, one of his campaign stops, or not campaign stops, but one of his like actual events, if you guys remember, during the Democratic Party's primaries, one of Brandon's literal fucking, closed door funding events was conducted by a famous anti-union busting lawyer, like a union busting lawyer. If I'm that guy, I'm pissed right now. Because Brandon's NLRB has probably been one of the most militant, in a good way, NLRBs out there. Contemporary American history. 100%. Since the Reagan era, since the Reagan-Thatcher neoliberal era that you consider, many of you consider late-stage capitalism, I have not seen this level of aggression and militancy from the National Labor Review. It's just not even remotely close. They basically offered light card check, like a not a full-blown card check, but they straight up put forward card check, which was an Obama era policy that's like that even predates Obama, as a matter of fact, that Obama dropped. Now it's still not legislation. It's still not legislation, but it's still good that they're doing it. Militancy, Lamau. Yes, militancy in comparison to where they were before. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you got fucking the NLRB literally utilizing the marshals to arrest a fucking small business owner for refusing to comply with court order back pay, that's pretty fucking militant. If you got the NLRB, like if you got legal counsel at the NLRB specifically seeking out bad faith contract negotiation violators all around the country so they can actually take it up to the legal process, to the court system, this is the type of improvements that come in the margins that is slowly but surely changing the reality around us. Now, will that still get eviscerated by an incredibly powerful Supreme Court of the United States that has always been historically anti-labor and still is very much anti-labor? Yes, it could happen. But but ultimately, these guys are working, okay? These guys are working in a direction that I have not seen before. I'm sorry, but if we're going to talk about this kind of shit, Like, yeah, there aren't, you know, Marxist, Leninist workers' councils being implemented in this country, but you're living in pure fantasy land if you do not recognize that changes in this direction, especially through the electoral systems, against a capitalist hegemonic superstructure, is going to take some fucking time. It's going to be met with many hurdles. It's good. This is very good. When good things happen, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that it's happening. When the top of the hour ad break comes, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that there's a 3-minute ad break coming in your direction. And I'm going to follow up and tell you that if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. This is my major 5-head play here. Okay, I'm playing 17-dimension chess. I want you as a worker to get more money and more compensation, because then you could turn around and gift subs in this community for those who can't avoid the top of the hour ad break. Okay, that's my goal. My goal is that you're well fed and have enough disposable income that you can subscribe to me. Okay, to my self-interested 7-dimensional chess moment here. Okay, that is a way that you can avoid the ads. Goose Major, thank you for the 5 tier 1 gifted subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Sheena, K Sheena 0. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
Negotiation table to forge a win-win agreement. To continue our active engagement, I'm dispatching 2 members of my team to Detroit. Acting Labor Secretary Julie Hsu and White
Blue IX and Lero Bang. Thank you for the 5 gifted.
Senior Advisor Gene Sperling, both of them have been involved up to now, to offer their full support for the parties in reaching a contract. The bottom line is that auto workers help create America's middle class. They deserve a contract that sustains them in the middle class. So thank you very much. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Mr. President, at what point would you get directly involved in the negotiations? Should Hunter get a part in?
Just listening to President Biden, they're talking about the current auto workers strike. The United Auto Workers Union is currently striking against 3 facilities from the 3 big U.S. automakers. First time in history that's ever happened, and we just heard the president trying to encourage the automakers to come up to do more in these negotiations. I want to bring in White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks, along with senior national correspondent Terry Moran, who's on the picket line outside of Fort Plant in Wayne, Michigan, for more. Mary Alice, it sounds like the president is trying.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie. This makes me very happy. This makes me very hopeful. There have been astronomical dubs on the union side over the course of these past 2 years, especially recently. There's a lot of leverage in the labor force, and unions are utilizing that in a perfect way. You got the American Airlines, you got UPS Teamsters, you got the WGA, SAG-AFTRA strikes that are happening currently. This is something that I have talked about quite a bit. This is like every time people ask me, like, Hasan, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? You always fucking complain. You always fucking complain. And I tell you, like, this is the thing that you're supposed to do. This is the only power that you have, and this is the only area of legitimate influence that you have over your own lives. It's the only way that you can. It's the only way that you can actually have some autonomy clawed back from your bosses, and that's why I always have stressed for years and years and years the importance of union participation, the importance of unionizing, the importance of organizing in your workplace, and seeing all of that makes me very happy. Seeing all that come to fruition makes me very, very happy. Okay, so. You know, if you have the opportunity, you should also take advantage of this momentum. Okay, an update with the real article info about Ford GM and reply layoffs in response to the strikes. Yeah, we're gonna cover that in a second.
Trying to give sympathy and empathy to both sides here, but ultimately encouraging these automakers to come up in their offer.
Absolutely, Diane. This is a president who likes to call himself the most pro-union president in history. Two things, though, there that we did not hear. One, the president did not endorse specific asks from the labor unions at this point. He talked about how he thought they deserved.
Biden supporting UAW when he's previously been supported the big three CEOs during their EV policy summits is a big deal. He's not just a capitalist shill like people want to think he is. No, Biden absolutely is a capitalist shill. What the fuck are you talking about? Are you on crack? Like, he's the president of America. Okay? He definitely is a capitalist shill. The difference in this situation is that like in the United States of America, even if you are a fucking capitalist shill, due to the unregulated, unfettered corruption by the capital owners, that even a fucking rugged capitalist shill sees the momentum on the ground and has to react in the way that is pro-labor. Okay? It's crazy. But it is quite literally, how did you just spend 10 minutes juicing up Biden's record on labor and then dismiss what I'm saying? Because Biden himself has always been, to his credit, a guy who reads the room on the liberal side, okay? He's always been at the exact fucking center of where he's supposed to be on every single issue. He is a triangulator, okay? He's always been a triangulator, and he still is. And what he is seeing here is and the way he's reacting is quite literally coming from the factors that I mentioned. It's not that he's like genuinely pro-labor or anything like that. It's just that he's seeing how god-awful the situation is. He's seeing how insane, how absolutely unimaginably cruel, inhumane, and psychotic these parasitic fucking CEOs are, because other people are seeing it, and he's responding in this way for that reason.
A fair wage. They deserved new contracts for this moment. They deserved a piece of the pie. He talked about record-breaking corporate profits, but he did not get into their specific demands. And he also didn't say specifically if he was asked to get involved, though it was very interesting to me. He said that 2 members of his team have been dispatched now to Michigan to help on the ground with these negotiations. That would suggest that there was at least an opening there for more involvement from Washington.
Mary Alice, he's saying that these companies and the union, for that matter, that they're working round the clock to try to work this out. How much hope do you think there is from the White House that this will be resolved quickly?
The White House so far has been very optimistic. They've been telling us behind the scenes they're hopeful that this won't go on for long, that they don't think it will be hugely disruptive to the economy if it is short-lived.
There's never been an instance throughout American history, okay, where, especially in the last 100 years, where an American president has openly done something that's pro-labor without outside pressure, okay? And yes, of course, many of you probably get what I'm saying because I'm talking about FDR, right? Something that is hailed as like the greatest move towards social democracy, changes that were made in the United States of America under FDR and his New Deal that we are still relying on, like the fucking crumbling infrastructure that we built almost 100 years ago. Okay? All of that stuff only happened not because FDR himself was a rugged communist or even a social democrat, as a matter of fact. That happened because he saw how much outsized pressure was mounting. Okay? He saw the potential influence. He saw trade unionists, communists, Marxists who were genuinely pushing the American government into action. And this is the same principle behind social democratic reforms that were allowed to exist in places like European nation states in the western side of Europe that America saw and tried to scale back as best as possible, okay, but had to allow because the alternative was giving too much to the alternative was allowing the USSR to have a tremendous amount of influence over European politics. Okay? Interesting question. Do you think the USA would be socialist today if the FDR wasn't elected? What? No. I personally think that in the absence of reforms like that, America wouldn't just be a capitalist country. America would have probably joined the war. I mean, I don't know what the fuck would have happened, but probably joined the war on the German side. America would be significantly more Nazi. Yeah, it would. In the absence of organizing, in the absence of labor power, if there are only two alternatives, socialism or barbarism, you will only get to barbarism, okay? That's why I'm not like an accelerationist per se in the United States of America in the way that like some LARPers on Twitter are, because I recognize that America would only go in one direction, and it has only gone in one direction, which is more fascist control. And for the record, there was plenty of interest on the ground. One of the main factors with America not becoming a fascist nation state and aligning with Germany was most likely World War I happening prior to this. Okay, and Germans basically what is the term for it? Like anglicizing themselves as best as possible. And fully joining the rank and file of white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, or just like the larger group of white people, rather than being like, I'm German white, this guy is British white, this guy is Irish white. It's very different. Like anglifying, yes. There was still a American Bund movement, okay? They still marched on Madison Square Garden. They still made advocacies towards joining the German side, claiming that the German cause was one that was closer to America. For the record, they weren't technically wrong. Okay? They weren't wrong. I mean, Hitler loved a lot of the things that America had done. Anglo-Saxon sounds like a 4chanified slur. Wait, what do you mean Anglo-Saxon? That's not a slur at all. That's just what? So, yeah. Anyway, NA education, yes. The USA actually leaned into barbarism as they gave money to fascist states to Japan in the 50s so they could win control over more European countries. Yeah, I mean, that was post-World War II. The United States was like, yeah, these fascists have some good fucking ideas. We should use them against communism in Europe. But that's a different story for a different day. What I'm talking about right now is like what could have happened in America. And I'm telling you that there was plenty of interest in siding with the Germans in World War II. And it could have gone in that direction had we not had a capitalist welfare state for the white working class in the United States of America by FDR, who was, succumbing to outside pressure. If the business plot succeeded, there are many different times throughout American history where things could have gone in a very different direction. Mostly, but Mexico is still allowed an IRA due to NAFTA. Would violate NAFTA rules if they limited to U.S. and not NA. Many in the USA in post-World War II era and Europe absolutely think we fought on the wrong side. FDR gave scraps of Americans because leftists were gaining power and FDR didn't want a revolution.
But they are also very aware that they want to stand with workers. They want to stand in solidarity with workers, and they don't want, what I've been told is they don't want to be seen in any way as pressuring the workers to take an agreement that they're not excited about.
I want to go over to Terry Moran, who's there on the picket line. Terry, what are you hearing from workers there?
They're upbeat, Diane. They do feel like this is a moment for them to change the course of the compensation, benefits, the whole status that they have as laborers with these companies. Ford, this is a Ford plant behind me. They make the Ford Bronco. A couple of employees on this picket line said, I can't afford to buy the car I make. And they want to change that, and so they are united. Now, this is day one. You just asked how long this strike might go on. It might go on a while, right? Weeks, maybe longer. They have made progress, but the longer it goes, of course, the harder it is for everybody, for the companies, but also for the men and women on the picket line behind me. They get $500 a week.